Welcome to another edition of Moment with the Mayor podcast. Today we've got Public Works Director Andy Smith and Town of Florence Senior Engineer Lindsey Randall talking about all things transportation. Anything that you need to know, hopefully we get the answer today. Don't forget to subscribe and share to our podcast on YouTube and through our Town of Florence website. Welcome to another Moment with the Mayor podcast. And today we've got a couple special guests with us. Appreciate you guys coming down. Public Works Director Andy Smith, our Senior Engineer for the town, Lindsey Randall. Welcome, guys. And we've come to an exciting time here in Florence where we get some transportation projects going. That's what you guys do for us, and you guys have been doing such a great job on that. So specifically Attaway and Hunt Highway. We had coffee this morning. A bunch of residents come in, and that is the chatter about town. Finally, some say 5 years too late. Some say 10 years too late. So either way, we've got it coming. So the 17th, around the 17th of February, that project starts. What can we expect for like the first week?
Let's kind of back up a second, if you don't mind, Mayor. We started out with a very large project that evolved into something that was much bigger as time progressed. The design went on and started to determine that we were going to run into a lot of, shall we say, financial challenges with that particular project. And so with Lindsey's help, we were able to kind of dial it back, and we determined that we were able to do what I'll let Lindsey explain the actual project itself. But we were able to come up with the same level of service that $15-16 million project was going to provide. We can do for about $3.5 to $4 million with this project. And so we still get the same level of service for that particular intersection. So it's really a win-win, because then we can utilize those funds for other projects. But I'll let Lindsey kind of get into some of the next steps that we're having as far as going forward with that particular project.
Well, and then before you start, Lindsey, so to go into that, and thanks for bringing that up, because that's something that a lot of our folks, and I hear it a lot from folks. It's like, this thing's been budgeted for $8 million for 5 years. Why all of a sudden are we switching gears? And with everything since 2020, and we go back to COVID, right? I think we can still blame COVID for some stuff. That pricing has increased. Aggregates, concrete, asphalt, anything upwards towards 150% from then. So what has been budgeted as an $8 million project, all in, now turned it in, once we got our new pricing, is in a $15 million project, and we just can't afford it. I mean, that's basically it. So so moving forward then, Lindsey, I know that you guys were scrambling because we're scrambling, right? So we have to live within our means of the taxpayers. We probably scrambled more than what you guys did, because you guys just knew exactly kind of where to go next. So take us back to that, trying to find a happy medium or something to give our citizens some relief.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was after we got that first price quote of $15 million and we did not have that budget, we started looking at what we could do. We tried to change kind of where the intersection would be lying, anything that we could do to get the price down. But especially after finishing the right turn lane on 79 and Hunt, that we saw such a dramatic change in the flow of traffic with that, we thought, why can't we do this with Hunt and Attaway as just our first phase for that intersection to get that project done, get some relief there for the residents, the travelers. So now the project will be right turn lanes from Attaway to Hunt and Hunt to Attaway, and then a left turn from Hunt to Attaway.
So, and you're right. So just getting some relief, and we've got some developers that are going into that corner, thinking about some stuff in that corner. And quite frankly, our citizens need some relief there. And it's just a mess. And we listen, we try to listen to what our citizens say. Now, one of the things I think they're going to see is a little bit of a smaller type of a project, a phased project. This is not a complete project when we get done in a few months, 7 months, or whatever that is. So what we're doing as council, what you guys help us every day try to do, is try to find other monies to continue that project. So we are in, and we were just talking about this before we went on. We're in 2 or 3 right now legislative bills with some additional funding. And one of the biggest costs was crossing the magma ditch, and because we have to build a bridge there.
Yep.
And so what we're going to see right away, I guess, is simple turn lanes. Next phase would be from the 6 lanes in front of the fire station all the way to Attaway.
Yeah. Yeah. The widening, we call it.
The,
Yep.
the widening.
The widening, which will be widening, but also more intersection improvements.
So I know some of your presentations too. So I know that our residents should expect some delays. I mean, it's construction.
Yep.
And just this morning at coffee, somebody was talking about it, and I just tell people, listen, this is going to suck. I'm sorry. This is, no pay, no gain on this. So, but we understand too that Banachie Construction, who is our contractor, has indicated that a lot of stuff will be able to be done off-site. Do you see major shutdowns or anything in that?
So right now we'll be open. We do have one weekend where we will have a closure on the intersection, but just one weekend, 2 days, and other than that, it should be flowing.
All right, and then we should see substantial changing. Is this project, how long is this project going to take?
It'll be done before June.
Before June. Okay.
Yeah.
So now let me ask you the question I get to Country Thunder.
Yep.
So Country Thunder locks the town up with roads that we presently have, let alone under construction. Banachie had indicated that they certainly are aware, and I think you guys have made them very aware of what Country Thunder. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Are they looking at certain portions of it that would help out traffic through that?
Well, what is nice about this is that Banachie was here when they did the roundabout on the south side of town. And so they're familiar with the traffic, the issues that were associated with that particular project at the roundabout. So I think they're very cognizant of what can transpire with Country Thunder. And so we've been working with them to kind of deal with that. The county has established another egress out of Country Thunder off of 79. So that should help. And then the traffic control has been much, much better the last couple of years as far as allowing the folks and the participants who are going to end up going into the venue with a better ability to get in and out. So I think there's a lot of positives that are going in that direction.
Well, and I think adding just a simple turn lane off of the Attaway onto Hunt Highway, the right turn lane that goes towards Country Thunder. And I know that that's kind of a thought process. And I appreciate the fact that you guys know because you live here, right? You've lived through Country Thunder. You see the mess that it is of 30,000 of our closest friends come and visit us for a few days. So we're excited about that and moving forward. The next project that we've been working on, you guys have been working on so hard, is the widening from Franklin Road to the railroad tracks or to the edge of town. Where are we at with that project?
Ooh.
Yeah, the county is taking the lead on that project. They're still working on their north part of it. So they told us starting this summer, they should be targeting the Florence side, just getting started on it.
Well, and I think the thing, and again, we were talking this morning just at one of our vice mayor night coffee, people were asking about that because we're 100% plans on ours. So the county, we work with the county, which is a very good partnership. They did our engineering on that. They've helped with our right-of-way purchases. We just finished that. So we're what they would call 100% plans, right?
Yep.
So we've got right-of-way. We can go tomorrow. However, what we need to make sure and do is we need to bid this as a whole project from Franklin all the way into Copper Basin,
Right.
To get the pricing in there. We can't just do our part and then expect the next part. And I think that's what, and people understand that, and I think people appreciate that. But we've also indicated to them that we want that construction to start on our end.
Yes.
When we get to that. So we're still looking right now, and I know dates are tough, and we try not to throw out dates until we get like last minute for sure.
Yep.
But we're looking at midsummer on that. So we are funded. Our right of way is purchased, so we're ready to go on that. So that's a great thing. We've been introducing some other projects around town. So You guys don't just concentrate on those two projects. So, infrastructure for us is not just, of course, you're with Public Works, all of infrastructures and with we do water under Jonathan and some different stuff, and then just engineering throughout. We've got a lot of projects. We're still playing catch up. We know that, and I always say it's kind of we liken it to changing a tire when the truck's running down the road, and because we still have to keep going forward, but we have to play catch up. So one of the newly proposed projects is possibly a plant road extension. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts there, Andy or Lindsey.
I'm still putting me on the straight and narrow where I deviate. Yeah, we know that between State Route 79 and Attaway Road is 6 miles. And they're based on, I came here in March when I started, and Lindsey came a couple months after that. And just in that short period of time, we have listened to the constituents, we have listened to our elected officials, we have listened to the businesses, and there needs to be a connection, a stronger connection with the north part of Florence, with the original part of Florence. And so I think, and as far as emergency response, public safety, commerce, and all of that, we kind of have come up with this plan to make Plant Road, and we're initially looking at it from Butte on the south side, crossing at Plant Road, which is just on the west side of the Windmill Dinner Theater location, going due north and tying into Hunt Highway on the north side. And so that whole particular corridor is just about a mile, I think, in length. And so obviously it would be some kind of a crossing of the Gila River. And so we have some ideas on coming up with what they call a low flow crossing initially. And so what that would mean is that for all intents and purposes, a general rainstorm or monsoon storm may be enough that we would still be able to cross. But in the event that it doesn't, it would basically, the water would rush over the top of it. A day or two later, we'd go out, sweep it off, and it would be ready to go again. You could continue to use it. And that's kind of what the low flow is. And then there's variations. And if you want to get into the engineering and the hydrology, I'll let you can grow Lindsey a little bit, but it basically would be to what kind of structure, a culvert or a box culvert or some kind of a passageway that you would make under that to make it so how much water would be able to flow under it until such a time that we wouldn't be able to use it.
Right.
And so we think that there's multiple aggregate companies down there in the river bottom, and our conversations with them have been that they are expanding their operations. They're kind of retooling some of their locations and bringing them to other locations and newer locations. And we think that there might be an opportunity if we go out what we call a request for innovation or a request for information. And that's basically going out to the private sector. So we've reached out to Arizona Rock Products. We'll reach out to the AGC, who they're representatives of road builders and contractors. And we will see if there's a way that they would like to partner or come up with some innovative way to say, here at the town of Florence, this is how we could build this road. And so that it isn't per se, we could leverage our own real estate because we own a lot of property right there on that south side by Plant Road. In Butte, we have some property that we own. There are mining opportunities that we could lease to aggregate companies, or it's however creative we can get as far as the private sector coming to us. But then we would allow them to kind of help facilitate the building of this particular facility across Plant Road or across the Gila River.
Well, and I think that so the council just last meeting or 2 meetings ago, I guess it was the work session. So in our work session that we had given, we don't vote in work sessions, but we had given direction to move forward with that project. And that P3 concept where it's public and private partnership, now, I mean, we every day, and I was just downtown at a MAG meeting today. I'll be at the Capitol tomorrow. We're fighting for every piece of revenue that we already have, let alone trying to find new revenue. So thinking outside the box, and that's what I appreciate so much. Now, when you guys say you just got here, so you just came to work for the town not long ago. You guys have both been in the county
True.
and been for a long time, and you guys know kind of what that is. But that's so exciting because I think that there are, and you stated that one of you guys in the meeting was that there's people out there and programs that people would love to join with us, but they're just not asked, and until we know, until they ask, and until we ask, they don't know. And so that's pretty exciting for that. And it gives us another crossing because I've heard that for a long time is that our north part of our town, the Anthem area, giving a little faster, easier access to downtown and vice versa as we go through there. So that's exciting. So we've got a lot of projects, a lot of proposed projects, and so let's get into some revenue streams. So what our job is to try to give you the money to do these projects and tools to do that. And one of the challenges that we're having, we have it every day right now with the legislation coming through, is again protecting our current revenues and then still trying to come up with a revenue. We know that the best way for us to generate revenues is through commercial and trying to get the commercial build up. And we've been working on that and it's coming. But something that we've kind of discussed in council meetings, we've discussed it in a work session, is the possibility of an additional revenue stream. Unfortunately, that revenue stream, comes back to the possibility of a tax, specifically earmarked towards transportation. How would that move? How fast would that move us on a lot of these projects for using that as an additional revenue?
I believe it could expedite in that it shows that we have a funding source for projects. And so once we were able to say whatever this tax is that the council approves or applies and approves, we would then be able to say we're going to get X amount of dollars a year that we could then start to say our 5-year capital improvement program or our transportation improvement program, these are the projects that we think we should be moving forward with. And then obviously we would want public input to say, is this priority a project? Is this project a priority? We could start to obviously weigh from our constituents and our residents which projects they think are more in line. But we currently have a pretty good, I should say, priority list of projects given what we know we need now. And it's the stuff like Plant Road, the Attaway and Hunt intersection, as well as Attaway, the whole length of Attaway from Hunt all the way down to 287. We have some other roads that we really need. We've got some roads here in the original part of town of Florence that we would like to do some improvements on as well. So
Well, I think that's the biggest thing. And when we talk about new taxes, nobody wants, I pay the same thing. And when we're talking about, so just to be out there with this, we will have much more public input. We'll be talking with the public a lot more as we get a little bit closer to that. And we've listed all that. And we've had these discussions. So with having our engineering and trying to do as much in-house, how does that affect our speeding up these projects?
There's an educational component here that I hope that people who follow this or listen to this will understand and get. When we say this tax thing that we're talking about, you have to look at the Highway User Revenue Fund and our vehicle license tax. We've been paying the same gas tax since 1991, which is 19 cents a gallon. And as we just said earlier in this podcast, we kind of explained or discussed how the prices have gone up exponentially in this 5 years from just trying to do Attaway at 8.5 to jumping up to 15 million before right away. So the prices of, our tax on our gas is not going up to compensate even a cost of living for projects. If that, I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this, but basically to say we're still trying to buy stuff for building roads that we were doing in 1990 or 91, and nobody can do that. I mean, the house that you bought in 1990 isn't going to be the same as you'd buy today. Right. And so it's kind of that balance that I'm trying to say, people have to understand. And then there's certain pots that we can use money, and there's other pots that we can't. And so when it comes to transportation, it's a designated pot. And so when people will say, well, I just pay my taxes. Well, you do, but your taxes pay for parks, public safety, and things like that. It's not transportation. It's not roads. I mean, the majority of our roads come from creative ways like we're trying, or through the highway user fund, or appropriations from the state and federal government.
Well, I think that's where it comes down to, when we start talking about HERF funds and things. And so what I would do would be, it's funny, the number of pots that monies go into and can be used. And so I always urge our people, our citizens, to come to our budget hearings and set through our budget work sessions and kind of see that, because it's just not general fund money here. And you bring up the HERF tax, the highway user tax. This is a very simple fix in most feeble minds like myself, is that if we haven't touched that since 1991, that, simply talking about that. And I think the biggest thing that's hurting us right now with revenue streams and that HERF tax is electric cars, battery powered cars, electric cars. And I know Lindsey and I was at a conference here earlier in the fall, and it was such a great presentation on that when the gal doing it had just, please stand up if you got an electric car. People were standing now,
Yep.
yes, please. Yeah. And she's, the accountant for ADOT, and please stand up if you've got a hybrid car. And by the end of that, by the next thing, please stand up if you've got a car that gets 30 miles a gallon. It was the whole crowd standing up,
Yeah.
and so it was just so poignant when I was looking at that. It's like, this is the issue. This comes out of the gas tax. Even though the gas tax hasn't been changed, certainly every day our gas prices change for something. And why hasn't that? And that's I wouldn't expect an answer from you guys on that, because I can't get an answer from anybody on that.
It is funny. We did just talk about that this morning, that exact story. So
Yeah,
very topical.
well, yeah, it is. It's very topical. So, but anyway, we're excited about some of the prospective stuff coming up in the projects. And what else can we expect out of you?
Well, I just want to say back to that too, is that we have so many high priority projects that we want to work on. But at this point, with the funding that we have to sit down and say, what is our very number one project? What can we cut and push back? Which isn't what we want to do. We want to see the town of Florence grow in good ways. So
Yeah, because I mean, every economist that you talk to, and we speak with Jim Rounds quite a bit, and the economic engine thrives on a good transportation system. I mean, you can think about anywhere in the valley, up north, down here, wherever you want to go. If it's congested and it's difficult to get to, you won't go to that particular store. You won't go to that establishment. But if it's easy and it pumps in a lot of traffic and pumps it out, and it works great, then that helps to improve and incentivize that economic development component. And so I think that the two go hand in hand. And so if we can just provide the funding that we need to increase our transportation prowess, if you will, then I think that will help, and there will be benefits that will kind of compound on themselves and to the better.
Well, and I think that as we go through, and I know that we've talked about this, and Lindsey, you and I specifically, shovel-ready projects. We've found out over the years, anybody that's been in the municipality business or anything, that sometimes there's just money that just comes available on Tuesday and it's gone on Thursday, and you've got to be ready to get that. And when we talk money, we of course talk federal monies, any monies other than our own money, which we try to get every day. And so I know you guys are working on some shovel-ready projects, getting out there ready for some different stuff. So, anyway, thanks for being here, you guys. Do you have anything else to add?
Well, I was Lindsey can kind of give you we've identified a few projects that we're trying to work towards that would be shovel ready. We're going after some state appropriations, some MAG appropriations like the RTAC dollars, the Rural Transportation Council dollars. So if you wanted the DCR.
we are working on a DCR for Hunt Highway.
So a DCR
is a design concept report to see what the design would look like for Hunt Highway. There are a lot of restrictions in design ways for that roadway. So we would get a consultant on board that would help give us a 15% design plan. So then we can start taking that out. If we have a project we're looking for funding for that.
And it also helps us to kind of break it into projects, pieceable projects, like you're saying, shovel-ready types of projects, and then it kind of says this is how you could phase it. Because that's, I know that's 5 or 6 mile segment of road that we're talking about. You don't necessarily want to do it all at once. So that this DCR would allow us to kind of identify how to break these projects up, and then we could go after additional funds for actual construction through state appropriations and build grants and such.
So Hunt Highway and 79, that is also something I get. And I know that you guys are working right now because every road that comes into town, we share with other people. So Attaway is the city of Coolidge, then the county, the county and then us. Hunt Highway, again, I think you talk about the widening as we widen everything all the way down. We just now narrow it. We widen everything to 79, and now we've got a 2-lane road that comes in there. That's ADOT. We talk about partnerships, and that's one of the things that I preach and preach and preach. You two come to our town with some good partnerships. ADOT, you guys have both worked with ADOT quite a bit, and our partnerships. So that intersection of 79 and Hunt Highway, is there anything going on there that we can expect other than a street light? That's coming. That's going to be a big deal.
Yes.
It's just little things that makes us all happy, right? It's not a traffic signal, but it's a street light. Yes. Is there anything going on there and discussions right now that you can talk about?
This kind of goes in line with what Lindsey was saying about Hunt. We've reached out to Maricopa Association of Governments, which is our planning agency. And I believe in the spring, we're supposed to be kicking off another design concept report from the cap on the north side of where 79 and the CAP cross or intersect all the way down to Butte. And so what that'll provide us to do is that we have obviously a lot of uncontrolled access, meaning you can pull off anywhere along from that segment between the CAP down to Diversion Dam Road, I guess. You can pull off anywhere, and so that causes all kinds of confusion and confliction ports between the traffic that's trying to enter the highway and that kind of stuff. And so it'll help us to establish some projects and some ideas on how we can remedy and make improvements to that particular portion of 79. And then do the same thing on that segment between Diversion Dam down to Butte. And so we've got that supposed to be kicking off here, I believe, in the spring.
So a lot of planning and getting some stuff ready for hopefully funding.
Which would then, and that gives us those shovel-ready projects that we talk about. So then we can say, oh, okay, we can go try and get state appropriations. Well, do you have a design? There it is. We fill out the application and we give them the project and we say, you give us the money, this is what we can build.
And I guess that's kind of where I was going with that first question about our design and having the engineering in-house as much as we can. We understand too the workloads, that you have too, but not only knowing the project, but then moving it along enough to where you guys both have the experience and what's expected when we get to that point. So, and we're very happy about some of the things we're able to move on right now and really appreciate you guys. And I think we could probably break this off into a bunch of segments because we could talk about this for a while. But this kind of gives an idea. And I think this kind of answers some of the questions that some of our people are having right now. And of course, any questions that any of our people have, they can always, contact any council member or myself or come to the council meetings or email you guys. All they have to do is just get on our website, go under Public Works and keep it coming. So we don't know if we don't know. So guys, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you too. And we look forward to getting out there, taking some pictures.
Thank you.
Yeah,
all right.
Thanks.
Thank you.